What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Stock Hustle channel with your boy William. Today is Monday, November 15th. As always, guys, nothing that is discussed on the channel is financial advice, simply providing people financial education that I then hope they will use to understand you don't have to slave in those 9 to 5s if you don't want to. You could easily hustle 24/7 in the market and still be able to accomplish all those financial goals you have maybe set for yourself, right? As with anything else in life, guys, you're going to get out whatever you choose to put in. But that's the hustle. So let's get to hustling. As you guys can see from the chart today, we're going to be talking about ticker MU, otherwise known as Micron Technologies Incorporated. So this play also comes from one of my subscribers. It was dropped to me in a chat, specifically asking about inquiries. I have a few others that I still have to work on, Facebook, Palantir, and a couple others. But I'm going to do the best I can to try to get those out as fast as I can to you guys that are asking for them, because again, that's the whole purpose of the channel, is to help educate people. If that's what you want to be educated on, so be it, right? Who am I to decide? But let's get into this. Let's get into this play specifically. So, as you guys can see from the chart, this is a 1-year look on a 1-year, 1-day chart specifically, with the volume profile on the back. As you do see, the gray bars are nodes. Once again, you have a 50-day moving average, you have a 9-day SMA, and you have a 100-day moving average as well, right? So, when we're looking at this chart and trying to break it down, what do we see? So we see that we started out the year essentially on the bottom half of this chart in the 60s, 50 area, quickly rising to our point of control, which is the red line. Remember, blue line to blue line is the concentration of 70% of volume, red line being the highest concentration of volume in the nodes itself, right? As we've discussed before, anytime you are trading below the point of control, it has a tendency to pull you up towards it. If you're trading above it, it has a tendency to pull you down towards it, right? Well, we consolidated essentially in the beginning of the year, December, January, before we did on this. We took off on this nice run, peaking essentially in the middle of April at $97.30 before we entered this downward wedge. Why is it a wedge? Because as you see the trend line in yellow on the top and the bottom, we essentially bounced back and forth in this wedge, back and forth throughout April all the way to current, only recently breaking our trend. Why is it important to identify trend lines? Because trends are our friends. They let us know what's going on in a ticker and what a play is specifically doing, right? Had you bought back here essentially and you not identified this wedge, you essentially would have taken a loss or would have essentially traded sideways on your play, essentially not making any money. When you identify a wedge, it's important to see when we're getting close to break a trend, because that presents to you a buying opportunity, right? So we are essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days out of this wedge. We're essentially a week. So we have essentially broken out after about a week. Now, looking at the indicators, take a look. We are in a buying period in the MACD. Considering that we actually broke this trend while we were still in the buying period, take a look at the RSI. We were essentially about to hit overbought, approached overbought, cooled off a little bit, and here we are once again at the door of overbought. And then now taking a look at our ATR, it is showing a $1.86 swing, or otherwise that is a $3.62, $1 or $2.62 swing to the top side or to the bottom side. Once again, please remember, ATR does not give you specifically direction of the swing, it just gives you the potential of the swing, right? So, for those of you wondering, what the hell is Micron Technologies? Micron Technologies is a specialized company. It's a chip manufacturer, or a semi, right? Specifically, they specialize in memory. One segment being DRAM, which is dynamic random access memory, right? Which is like internalized memory. And then you have NAND, which is non-volatile flash memory, right? That's what considered your USB or external memories, SSD cards, stuff of that nature, right? Those are the two segments they specialize in. Now, they have a website as well, which I did take the liberty of pulling up already specifically. I'll leave it in the details of my video below. But essentially, this company specializes in memory products. Now, their solution applications range from 5G, automotive, your regular everyday client, gaming, consumer, industrial, cloud computing, mobile, essentially for your smartphones and cameras, networking, cloud, AI, and obviously server applications. So as you can see, they have a very, very diverse background that they work with, and I believe that's also why they had such stellar earnings. Now, if you have Thinkorswim at the very bottom, there's actually a little breakdown that it gives you into specifically earnings. I never really use it because it seems a little confusing, but the area you'll want to pay attention to is down here where it says valuation, right? and then growth rates, right? Specifically, look at the revenue. You see the three green bars pointing up. That's telling you it's on the rise in the right direction. It's not mixed. It's a straight up line. Net income, specifically the same. Earnings per share, straight up in the same manner, right? Those are things you want to see if you don't want to essentially indulge in digging through earnings reports specifically, because again, I did take the liberty of pulling it up, but because this is a tech company, their earnings are not straightforward. They are really, really refined in their explanations and what is breaks down into what, specifically what segment into what quarter. As you can see, it's a lot of tech jargon, which can be a little confusing. Trying to interpret some of these charts especially can be a little confusing as well, but essentially, for example, this one, right? They're letting you know what the semiconductor total addressable market is over the 4-year moving average compared to what they've done, right? And what they're trying to imply here is that they are consuming just about the majority of the total addressable market that they can, right? Which means they're not leaving very much untouched. Now, when you're considering what applications this company has, you have 5G, again, as I mentioned, for pictures and smartphones. You have auto, autonomous driving, GPS. You have laptops, gaming. You have consumer goods like TVs, kitchen appliances, or the smart ones, right? VR headsets. Again, remember, Meta is coming. Disney's now made a statement that they're going to go into that direction as well. So you got to consider that as well. Smart watches, smart TVs. You pretty much name it, and they have an application that fits where they can service or pivot into helping specifically that segment, right? You have data centers, PC graphics, mobile, intelligent edge, right? This company is really, really involved in the tech industry, especially when it comes to semis. Now, the fact that when you take a look at their earnings, they are producing some pretty stellar numbers, right? They're not missing at all. They're hitting on every single earnings report. I believe the last time they missed, let me go into my my trading view. The last time this company missed was back in July of 2015, to give you an idea, right? And they missed on both money and earnings per share. But outside of that, you can see these little greenies at the bottom of the trading view. They don't miss. So they've addressed any concerns that you may have as far as financials are concerned. So to me, this is a really bullish sign. The fact that they also just recently broke out of this wedge that I just showed on the chart is another really bullish sign for a run that may be coming up. The fact that you see gray nodes up here at the top formulating that are extended way out further could also give a sign that the volume profile may extend to the top side, which then gives it more room to keep running, right? All really, really bullish signs that you want to pay attention to. But I'll leave the earnings and their website in the details of my video. If you want to dig through them, feel more than welcome to. Again, they have stellar earnings. You're not going to find very much downside, specifically on any of the charts or any of the graphs they're showing you. But again, if you're curious, I'll leave it there for you to take a look at. Now, let's get into some smart money projection, because I always like to show you what smart money is thinking, supposedly smart money, right? So we always go to Nasdaq for that. As you can see, they have a strong buy rating, specifically with 7 analyst rating MU. Their consensus is a $58 low, a $96 average, and a $165 high. Specifically, if you're paying attention, we are at 77.30, as of Friday, which means that the low is essentially out of the question. We're now talking about 96 or 165. So when you're looking at this, you also want to pay attention to who are they competing against, right? So in Marketbeat, they have something called competitors, a little competitor section you can go into, and it actually shows you who they're specifically competing with. So you have companies like NVIDIA, AVGO, Intel, right? Texas Instruments, right? Well, look at the price targets on these companies. NVIDIA is trading at 303, AVGO is at 563, Intel is at 5031. I guess that's comparable. Texas Instruments is at 190. Analog Devices you have at 184. So again, it's a really mixed bag as far as their competitors. So the fact that they're sitting in the 70s with a breakout, to me, is another pretty bullish sign, right? But taking a look at the analyst ratings in Marketbeat, specifically, you see that they have a buy rating with a consensus low of 58, almost matching Nasdaq's. You have an average of 102.27 and then a high of 165. If you're looking at who and how many, a year ago you had 21 buys, 8 holds, 1 sell. 3 months ago, it's 23, 6, and 0. As of a month ago, you have 23, 7, and 0. And now this month, currently, you have 1 strong buy, 22 buys, 8 holds, and 1 sell, with a 32% upside potential swing. Now, the other thing I like to show you guys from Marketbeat is who is holding specifically. this company. Obviously, there's going to be buys and sells. As you saw, it was very up and down over the past year. As of recently, it's on the upside. So I'll be interested to see what Q3 ends up like and what Q4 ends up showing. But as far as who's holding, we can take a look at some of the biggest shareholders. Pay attention to there are more increases than decreases. And then our favorite that we like to see, Renaissance Technologies, essentially holding 1.6 million shares valued at $116 million. Again, looking at the 13F filings, I did go ahead and take the liberty of pulling that for Renaissance Technologies. And you see here, Micron Technologies embedded in the middle of their 13Fs, right? So again, this is another very bullish time for me. Again, if you know who Renaissance Technologies is, or if you pay attention to my videos, I follow what that hedge fund does because it is the best producing hedge fund ever, producing yearly returns of 66%. After fees, you're still talking 39% return. There's nothing even close to comparable, right? Following up and moving along, they do have a short position on Lucid Tracking. You see that they are ranked 104 with a 2% short interest specifically, or 27 million shares short of the total 1.1 billion shares that they have out on the float specifically. So again, it is a substantial short position when you look at it from the money perspective, because I know that seems very deceiving essentially when you're talking about 2% compared to 1.1 billion. But if you go into the short interest section of Marketbeat, you see that that is essentially valued at $1.68 billion short. When you're looking at who's holding, funny enough, right? Current shares, take a look. Shit in a Box Advisors is present, and they have just recently increased their position 40%. So nothing we can really do about it. Do not know if that is the full position or if that is a partial position. Again, we're not really ever going to know. It's just something to be aware of when you're moving along or moving into a play, right? So the last piece that I like to touch on in any company that I do a review on is my favorite piece, right? Which is Unusual Whales. Pulling the flow, again, as you see, no filters added, nothing specifically, and we pull it. What do we see? We see that we are more bullish over bearish, specifically for the 12th, for the 19th, and leading up to the end of November, or November 26th. Specifically, when we go look at the strikes of what is bullish, we have the $80 that stands out, the 82, and the 100 strike are the ones that stand out the most. Now, if we go in filtering, obviously, if you've seen my videos, you know I like to pull out of the money only specifically. It gives us a better perspective of speculation. Once again, we are more bullish than bearish for pretty much all strikes, especially the November 26th and the December 17th, right, which is a monthly. At what strike? Again, the 80, the 8250, and the 100 stand out, 100 being the most predominant. If we go in filtering by premium, we can go in and filter by 25,000. Pull the chart once again. Now you see that the consensus has changed. We still are more bullish than bearish. However, the predominant dates are now January 2023 and January 2023 for the bear case as well. If you're wondering why 2023, it has been announced, publicly stated, that the chip shortage will go on through 2023. So potentially that is why you're seeing this in bigger money spenders, thinking that potentially that is when you will get some relief in these plays, right? But as you saw from my previous video, if you did catch it for GPN, I'm starting to dive into a little bit more into the dark pool segment. Once again, under extras in Unusual Whales, they do have a dark pool section. I did go looking for MU as well, and what did I find? Very, very large buys and sells. Now again, in the dark pool, you never know if it's a buy or if it's a sell specifically, right? But what you want to see is significant amounts of activity. So remember, looking at the chart, a week ago we had a breakout. Well, on the 12th, funny enough, we have a significant amount of activity. So you have one page, you have 2 pages for the 12th, and which is Friday's trading day, 3 pages, and officially 3 pages and 1 line. So 3 pages and 1 line just for the 12th. When you're looking at the 11th, you don't even have a full page breakdown, right? Because again, it's shared. As you see, here's the 10th, and then we keep rolling. Here's the 9th, right? So you're getting about a page a day, with exception to the 12th. You have almost 3 full pages just for the 12th, right? So look at the 12th specifically on the chart. You see that we did have a pretty green day, increasing 3.69%, or otherwise $2.75 to the top side, right? However, being that it is in the dark pool and you are seeing a ton of activity, that would imply that potentially we may have a higher push to the upside looking at the indicators, I know we do have a little room here in the RSI. Obviously, we have room in the MACD. And obviously, we know that the swing potential is in our favor as well. So it's just something to be on the lookout for, something to be aware of. Again, if you want to learn more about dark pools, I would recommend you tune into the Twitch stream on Unusual Whale's Twitch channel. Specifically, the Dark Pool Wizard will be on talking about dark pools. He will be dropping some knowledge for anyone. I did attend one of his previous airings last week on Just Two Trades. He was very informative. I definitely recommend you check him out. It will definitely teach you a lot of information in relation to dark pools. But as always, guys, if you have questions, leave it down in the comments below. Don't forget, you can always hit me up on IG or Twitter. And until then, I'll catch you in the next one.